Head impacts and concussions caused by contact sports are a quickly growing epidemic among young athletes. The Centers for Disease Control says the amount of concussions suffered by high school students has doubled in the last 10 years, up 200% among teens ages 14 to 19. 33% of all sports concussions, this is interesting, happens at practice.
And while most athletes recover quickly, some have symptoms that last for weeks, even months. Dr. Zorba Paster joins us in the studio today. Good to see you in the flesh.
Good to see you.
So what happens to your brain when you get a concussion?
Well, what happens is your brain is sitting in your head in a fluid. And when you have a concussion, you hit the brain, you hit that skull on one side, the brain goes to the other side, bangs in the other side, and then if it's strong enough, it bangs into the first side of your brain. Sort of like a ball in fluid. And, it's dangerous. And the issue is it's especially dangerous among children with growing brains. And if you look at high school athletes, just high school athletes, 50% of the high school athlete concussions occur during practice. So not even during the game, during the practice up to the game. And this is not a small issue, it's a big issue.
What are some of the signs and symptoms of a concussion?
First of all, seeing stars, feeling as if you looked at stars, loss of consciousness, loss of memory, and so on. Loss of memory 30 minutes before the concussion is a big issue. So you hit your head, you don't remember what went on, and you don't remember how you got hit. Those can all be very important issues. One of the things that we're doing now, especially in Wisconsin with high school athletes, is doing some training beforehand to look at how they do motor training and memory training, and then measuring them after a concussion to see whether or not the concussion is actually causing problems. And this is a big issue.
I imagine there are long-term consequences.
Oh, sure. And that's exactly what the National Football League is looking at, long-term consequences among football players who are professional football players. We know that hitting your head repeatedly, like Muhammad Ali, can produce terrible damage. We know that the NFL is now settling a number of suits.
Billions of dollars.
Well, like Chris Borland
exactly.
was recently in the news for this.
Huge thing. And the issue is, what do we do with our young boy high school athletes who want to play football, and how can we make practice better? Let's just zero in on practice, because that's 50% of all the concussions. And this is where we have to put our heads together, if you will, and figure out ways to make it safer for our children.
Do you think even any kind of a bonk on your head, no matter how hard, is a cause for concern?
Any bonk on your head is a potential concern that you always have, because something can happen. And a bonk where you see stars is a concern. And then something where you see stars and then children say, oh, I can go back in. And you don't have anyone, if you will, who's objective, who says maybe you should stay out, and then they get a second concussion. That's a big issue. And do you really trust all of the coaches to tell the star athlete, yes, you can sit out for this practice and sit out for the game? And the answer is no. There are good coaches and bad coaches, and I think as a parent, that's where you step up to the plate, if you will, and say, no, I think this may be serious for my kid.
Yeah, it is serious. Important information as well. Zorba, good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to have you in the studio tonight.
It's good to be here.